Hey there guys, and welcome to another video. I've got something a little bit different for you all this week. When I'm not building a golden throne the size of a small room, I'm actually kind of interested in a lot of the lore behind Warhammer. Specifically a lot of the lesser known elements behind it, such as the Unification Wars and pre-Unification Terra. I find this era particularly interesting because there's a lot of mystery behind it, and Games Workshop hasn't really fleshed it out in a lot of detail. This leaves us with little scraps of stories that we can put together to really imagine what pre-Unification Terra might have looked like. Some of you might have seen a few weeks ago that I'd done a video about the Golden Throne and the lore and history behind it, but this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. This week we're going to delve into the lore behind the Thunder Warriors. These guys intrigue me so much so that I actually kit bashed a few a couple of years ago, and it would be really cool in the future to maybe get some official models for them. So, with a bit of narrative flair, let's explore the lore behind the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder Warriors, also known as the Legio Contagious, hold a significant but often overshadowed place in the history of the Imperium. They were the precursor to the more famous Adeptus Astartes and played a pivotal role in the Unification Wars, which laid the foundation for the Emperor's rise to power and the creation of the Imperium of Man. Although their existence was relatively short-lived, their contributions were critical to shaping the galaxy as it's known in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium. Understanding their origins, nature, and ultimate fate helps shed light on the Emperor's long-term vision and the brutal pragmatism that defined his early efforts to unify humanity. Thunder Warriors were massive, even more so than Space Marines. Their bodies were thickly muscled, designed purely for warfare, standing 8 feet tall, with bulky barrel-chested frames that projected pure strength. Their gene-enhanced physiology made them look almost monstrous compared to unmodified humans. Their armor was a more primitive version of the later Space Marine armor. It was bulkier, heavier, and cruder in design, with less attention to finesse or artistic embellishment. It was designed for raw function over form. Some depictions show Thunder Warriors with scarred, weathered faces, bearing the marks of constant battle. Others wear intimidating helmets with slit-like visors or faceplates, lending them a faceless, inhuman appearance. Their faces, when seen, were marked by genetic modification or augmentation, making them look terrifying to regular humans. Thunder Warriors carried powerful weapons, including early versions of bolters and chain weapons. These weapons, often larger, more primitive and suited to their raw power, lacking the refinement of those later used by the Space Marines. The look of a Thunder Warrior was one of unrelenting force, embodying the violent, unstable nature of their design. The Thunder Warriors were created during the Age of Strife, a time when Terra was a war-torn, desolate planet, divided by techno-barbarians and warlords. The Emperor, who had remained hidden on Terra for millennia, finally revealed himself and embarked on a campaign to reunify Terra under his rule. To achieve this, he needed an army powerful enough to crush the countless warlords and resistances that littered the planet. The Thunder Warriors were that solution. These genetically engineered super soldiers were designed specifically for the rigors of the Unification Wars. Unlike their successors, the Space Marines, who were created with long-term stability in mind, the Thunder Warriors were a far more brutal and short-lived army. The Emperor did not need a force that would last forever. He needed an army that could win the wars of Terra quickly and decisively. As such, the Thunder Warriors were engineered for raw physical power and savagery. They were stronger, more resilient, and more aggressive than the later Space Marines, but they lacked many of the refinements that would make an Astartes more stable in the long run. Thunder Warriors were genetically altered to be far more imposing and powerful than ordinary humans. Their physical strength, endurance, and combat ability were unmatched during the Unification Wars. This allowed them to crush any opposition. They were outmatched only by their more powerful cousins, the Custodes. However, this power came with significant drawbacks. Unlike the Space Marines, who underwent more balanced and controlled gene therapies, the Thunder Warriors were created in haste, leading to extreme psychological instability and a much shorter lifespan. Their aggressive behavior made them fearsome on the battlefield, but also volatile and difficult to control. The armour worn by the Thunder Warriors, though primitive compared to the later power armour of the Astartes, was still a technological marvel for its time. It provided them with significant protection and enhanced their already prodigious combat abilities. The Thunder Warriors fought with a brutal efficiency that embodied the Emperor's vision of a swift, total conquest. Each warrior was a one-man army capable of wading through hordes of enemies and laying waste to entire armies. This sheer level of destructive power was necessary to end centuries of warfare and unify Terra under the Emperor's rule. The Thunder Warriors were the Emperor's primary instrument in the Unification Wars. They spearheaded the Emperor's campaigns against techno-barbarians, religious cults and mutant enclaves, leaving a wake of destruction in their path. Their brutal efficiency enabled the Emperor to quickly conquer much of Terra, defeating warlords like the Nord-Afric conclaves and the Pan-Pacific Empire. Without the Thunder Warriors, the dream of uniting Terra under one banner would have taken far longer, if it had been possible at all. Thunder Warriors were more than just soldiers. They were symbols of the Emperor's ruthless drive for unification. The mere sight of them struck terror into the hearts of the Emperor's enemies, sending a clear message that resistance was futile. Their presence also served to create a foundation for the future Imperium, where strength, order, and subjugation would be the guiding principles. Despite their success, the Thunder Warriors were doomed from the beginning. The Emperor never intended for them to survive beyond the Unification Wars. They were the means to an end, and their instability made them unsuitable for the long-term goals of the Imperium. As the wars on Terra neared their conclusion, and the Emperor began to shift his focus toward galactic conquest, the Thunder Warriors had become a liability. Their instability and uncontrollable nature were incompatible with the Emperor's plans for a more structured and enduring force. After the final battles of the Unification Wars, most of the Thunder Warriors were culled in what became known as the Battle of Mount Ararat. Official Imperial histories would later claim that they died in glorious battle, but the truth is far more sinister. The Emperor had ordered their extermination, ensuring that they would not live to threaten his future vision. A few managed to escape this purge, going into hiding and living out the remainder of their days as shattered remnants of their former selves. This betrayal reveals a darker side to the Emperor's grand vision. His willingness to sacrifice those who had served him faithfully when they were no longer useful to him. In the Emperor's mind, the Thunder Warriors were relics of a more primitive age, and they had to be removed to make way for the more refined and controlled Adeptus Astartes. This action set a precedent for the ruthless pragmatism that would later define much of the Emperor's rule and the Imperium's approach to its own warriors. The Thunder Warriors, though largely forgotten in Imperial history, still cast a shadow over the Imperium. Their creation marked the first step in the Emperor's journey towards the creation of genetically enhanced soldiers, a process that would be perfected with the Adeptus Astartes. However, their tragic fate also serves as a cautionary tale about the Emperor's willingness to sacrifice even his most loyal creations when they no longer serve his purpose. Their existence, brief and violent as it was crucial for the Emperor's success in uniting Terra, but their ultimate betrayal reveals the cold and calculating nature of the Imperium's founding. For those who know their story, the Thunder Warriors serve as a reminder that in the grimdark future of the 41st millennium, even the most powerful warriors are expendable when the greater vision demands it. So there you are guys, something a little bit different for you this week. I'm maybe thinking of exploring more of the lore in some future videos as well when I'm not working on the project. This enables me to break up my videos a little bit, because I'm not always going to have something to show when it comes to the diorama, so it gives me a chance to make sure I make some good progress before putting a video together. Making this video has definitely made me want to go back and make a couple more Thunder Warriors. I think I only got around to making about 5 or 6, so it'd be really nice to kind of make a whole squad of them. I don't think I even finished painting them all, so it'd be nice to do that, but I guess at the moment I don't really need a distraction from my project, which is consuming a whole room. Well anyway, thanks for watching. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section. If you're interested in checking out my Golden Throne diorama, there's a couple of videos on my channel. If you enjoyed what you heard, consider liking and subscribing. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.